Hello everyone. Today I'm here to discuss on topic number 5. I have chosen two articles. The first one is Sutherland Irrationality and the second one is Super Forecasting. I'm gonna start off with Sutherland. Based on my readings, I found out that these articles talks about how our decisions are shaped by the mental shortcuts, emotional biases, social circumstances, and the faulty interpretations of the evidences, right? so um, these articles try explains how various circumstances affect our decision making and our judgment, right? And I think it does happen to us a lot of time on in our day-to-day job and in our daily life, right? Even though we are the same person, the way we react to any circumstances or any kind of incident become different based on the circumstances and the kind of mindset you are in, right? So this is very common, and the articles talk about the viability error, which is very interesting. So oftentimes we make judgment on what comes to our mind first, rather than trying to spend a little bit more time on trying to understand the issue or dive into the root cause analysis and all that. So I have seen that happens to my work a lot of times, right? I have seen engineers uh, misjudge the risk assessment based on the most memorable incident that comes to their mind rather than digging into the data, and they ended up making the wrong decision for the project. And also in our daily life, oftentimes we make a relationship judgment based on the emotional events instead of the long-term patterns, right? Those are kind of emotionally driven and kind of biases towards emotional factor, which sometimes may lead to a wrong decision in our life, right? And also these articles talk about the another biases, which is obedience to authority. So people uh, in our general work environment, I think people follow the authority figures and their decisions, even though if they knew it was wrong or maybe not may not be beneficial for the project and the organization, they tend to follow their higher authority decisions, right? Uh, so that's very common. So I wanted to bring that up here on this discussion. And uh, the author suggested a couple of good ideas about how we can tackle those kind of problems, right? For example, he mentioned about trying to understand the pros and cons of uh, certain decision makings and judgments, right? Trying to understand the root cause analysis, do a scenario analysis, and try to uh, make a judgment out of that. And instead of going for yes or no, trying to define that in terms of probability. And he also suggested that structural reasoning, probability thinking, and a constant updates and constant uh, self-reflection helps a lot in making a good decisions in our day-to-day uh, basis, in terms either it's on a work or either it's on our daily life, right? So that was a very interesting article. Now I'm gonna talk about the article number 2, the super forecasting. This one is really interesting to me. In this article, the key highlight in this article was uh, the forecasting is a skill, not a gift. I think uh, people did a great job in forecasting because uh, they follow the well structural reasoning, probability thinking, and they would like to spend time and try to dig into the certain data or like very various sources, try to verify the things from various sources rather than jumping into the decision making really quick, right? So this kind of things is really suggested by the author on this article. He also talks about the open-mindedness and practice of trying to combine various ideas, belief, and styles from the wide variety of sources. That way, oftentimes, it gives you a wider perspective of various scenario, and you can make a decision based of that. The author also suggests about the self-criticism, self-reflections, right? Trying to question your decision and see if you're making any mistakes or those kind of things, right? So there are 6 or 7 key important topics discussed on this article. So the author talks about trying to break down the bigger problems into smaller manageable forms. So for example, like you're trying to move into a different city, so for that assessment you gotta make sure you break down things into smaller segments, like how expensive is the town, what is the tax rates on this town, right? What is the community look like, what are the job opportunities out there, um, and many other things that comes into play, right? So this is highly suggested by the author. And the second topic the author talks in this article was trying to update the belief frequently and incrementally. So that means trying to educate yourself or trying to learn more from various resources out there. That way you're not stagnated with the worst one belief. Such kind of approach really helps you to open up your mind and think from a variety of perspective, and it generally helps to make you a better decisions, right? And the other approach our author is talking about is the actively looking for the contradictory evidences. So whatever they believe is true, they always try to find a contradictory reasons, or like a find a faults on those find a flaws on their thinking. That way it helps them to realize if how accurate is their forecasting, or how good their decisions were from a broader perspective, right? And he also suggested to use the probability matrix instead of going yes or no. That way all other factors will be accounted for in those kind of scenarios. And finally the author talks about the importance of team diversity and structural debate, to in structural debate that ensures the good decision making, right? So for example, if there is a wide diversity of team members, or like people from a cross-functional team come together, it's likely that they uh, have a broader perspective on certain problems, and they can start making a structural debate, very productive debate with the teammates, and it will be a lot easier to resolve any kind of issues at the workplace. I have seen that oftentimes when we get stuck into the problems, we try to bring the cross-functional team together, and there's a brainstorming session together, right? This kind of approach really helps a lot. So the super forecasting article is really interesting one. So it talks a lot about how people make a right judgments and good forecasting based off all these factors I have just talked on this discussion. Thank you.